Denver 7 On Demand is brought to you by Ferguson and BAC Appliance Center, the best in bath, kitchen, and lighting for your home.
I'm Ann Trujillo with the latest from Denver 7. We warned you about the change in weather, and now this spring storm is bringing rain and snow. So let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson.
It's a good soaker, and we'll probably pick up a quarter to half an inch of liquid out of this storm, some in the form of snow, some in the form of rain. So when it's all said and done, that's going to certainly help things be nice and green and beautiful later on this week. But for tonight, it's going to be white up in the mountains with heavy snows, perhaps another 6 to 12 inches, a mix of rain and snow for lower elevations as this low pressure system moves through. Mainly wet roads at lower elevations, say below 6,000 feet, but there could be a few bridges and ramps that get a bit slick. Watch out for that. The mountains will have snow-covered and slushy roads early in the morning on Tuesday. And then we'll stick with showers mixed with a little snow through midday. Heavy wet snow in the mountains. Later in the day, the snow continues above 10,000 feet with rain showers expected on the plains. And it stays cool for a while, just 48 for Tuesday, 55 with some afternoon storms Wednesday. Finally, Thursday, clearing and 63. A beautiful day Friday with sunshine and 70. Mid-70s on Saturday. A chance of some afternoon storms again on Sunday.
Thank you, Mike. We are working to learn more about what led to Lakewood police shooting a man late this afternoon. Officers tell us a man was threatening police and people with a knife near 4th and Harlan. They say they used a taser on him, but that it didn't work and that it appears he had threatened the officers. That suspect was rushed to the hospital and his condition is not known. Denver police are investigating an apparent kidnapping and carjacking at a King Soopers. A woman told officers she was at the store on 28th in Quebec when she was robbed and forced to ride along with her captors. They abandoned the car down the street, then let her go, and then they took off. Now, she is okay, and police have not yet released a detailed description of the suspects. The Blue River took on a different hue over the weekend. Some photos show an orangish yellow river, and experts say the discoloration came from heavy rains on Friday, causing mine waste and mud from a beaver dam upstream to break free. Well, the fire chief says tests show there was never any hazard to public health or wildlife.
What we're seeing here is honestly mostly mud, red mud. We had a lot of people freaked out, particularly I think probably the most calls that I got were people that fish the area quite regularly, so there was a lot of concern there.
The Blue River provides Denver Water with some of its drinking water, but Denver water officials say it's not using Lake Dillon right now because snowpack on the Front Range is so good, doesn't need it. Colorado lawmakers have 4 days and 6 hours to decide what their priorities are. The session of the General Assembly wraps up Friday night. There are hundreds of bills that still need to be heard. Some will make it through. Others will have to wait until the next time around. Without a doubt, the one getting the most talk involves vaccinating children. If passed, parents would have to go to the health department to get an exemption form. Now, support seems strong enough in the legislature, but Governor Polis does not appear to be on board with the idea and has suggested that he may oppose it. And then there's legalizing sports betting, which has zipped through the House and Senate and is an odds-on favorite to pass. If it does, voters would still have to approve it in November. And finally, there's the sex ed revamp. This would broaden the conversation in schools to include information on consent and the LGBTQ community. This bill has already cleared the House and is being worked on in the Senate. And Brae Tavern, it's not just a bar, it's an institution. So when a sign went up suggesting the end could be in sight, well, customers and neighbors got a little worried. But as Denver 7's Liz Gilardi shows us, there is no reason to panic yet.
When you look past the iconic neon sign, another newer sign stands out.
In recent years, Denver has lost a lot of its old mainstay restaurants and the sort of familiar watering holes and little businesses that people love in their neighborhoods. So we knew that the community would be concerned about it and that it would be a loss.
The notice on the Brae Tavern has the neighborhood buzzing, wondering if it will be torn down or what the future holds.
I mean, it's been there for, forever.
Earlier this month, the owners applied for a certificate of non-historic status. The deadline to oppose it is tomorrow. But if the application is approved, the owners would have 5 years to apply for a demolition permit without any further historical review. The Brae Tavern has been in the family since the early 1930s. I talked with one of the owners on the phone, and he wants to tell customers not to panic. They're not closing, but he's been surprised by the outcry since the notice went up.
It's hard because, you own the business, so you should be able to decide what happens to it, if you want to close and move on. But it's also would be a loss to the neighborhood.
The executive director of Historic Denver says it's not just about the building, it's the business too.
Because there is so much changing in Denver that I think these kinds of places provide an anchor for our neighborhood.
So as our Colorado changes, she's hoping the Tavern can remain.
We've reached out to the property owners, and we'd still love a chance to sit down with them and talk about maybe some creative strategies around how there could be some new development in that location, as well as retaining the tradition and the sense of place that is so important to the neighborhood.
Because it's places like this that give us a window into Denver's past. Liz Gilardi, Denver 7.
This has been your Denver 7 On Demand update. Thank you so much for joining us, and check back here later tonight for another update, and download the Denver 7 app for breaking news and alerts. I'm Ann Trujillo.